Today, we are diving into a really fascinating question. What is a healthy, thriving church actually going to look like in 2026? We're going to break down 10 common types of churches you might recognize, maybe even one you're a part of. So let's get into it and figure out which models are really built to last. So let's start with the big question. What really makes a spiritual community healthy? I mean, is it about the size of the congregation, the energy in the room, all the programs it offers? In a world that's changing so fast, figuring this out is more important than ever. And, this brings up an even more personal question, doesn't it? Does the spiritual environment we put ourselves in actually shape how we grow? Just think about that for a second. Is the community you're a part of helping you thrive, or is it maybe kind of holding you back? There's this brilliant analogy used in the source material. Imagine you're trying to grow a plant that just loves sunlight, but you stick it in a dark closet. It doesn't matter how much you water it, it's going to wither, right? But if you move it to a sunny window, it just takes off. Well, our spiritual lives are exactly like that. The right environment isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely essential for real growth. Now, this whole challenge of finding the right balance, it isn't new, not by a long shot. In fact, it's a timeless problem. Let's actually jump back almost 2,000 years and see how the very first churches were dealing with these exact same issues. I mean, just look at the book of Revelation. It describes 7 different churches, and each one got a unique warning. You had Ephesus, a church that had lost its passion. Then there was Pergamum, which had started to compromise its beliefs. Sardis was basically spiritually dead on its feet, and Laodicea, well, it was just lukewarm. It goes to show that this struggle for balance has been at the very heart of the faith from the beginning. Okay, so let's fast forward to today. The source for this explainer identifies 10 common archetypes or models of churches that we see all around us. And each one is trying, in its own way, to find the right formula for faith in the 21st century. Let's break them down. First up, we have the spiritual fire church. Oh, you know this one. The energy is just electric, the passion is off the charts, and the experiences feel incredibly powerful. It's a place where intense spiritual encounters are the main event.
So its greatest strength is that raw spiritual passion. But what's the risk? Well, without any real structure or clear direction, that fire can get pretty chaotic. People might have these amazing experiences, but then have no idea how to actually grow from them. It can lead to these intense spiritual highs and lows, but not that deep-rooted, sustainable growth.
And this verse just hits the nail on the head. It's the Apostle Paul himself talking to a church that was full of spiritual fire. And he's reminding them, hey, passion needs a framework. True spiritual life doesn't thrive in chaos. It thrives when there's some order.
Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we find the highly managed church. Here, everything is organized, it's efficient, and it's planned down to the last detail. The systems are flawless, and the programs run like a well-oiled machine.
And the strength is obvious, right? It's incredibly effective, it's well run, but the danger is that it can all start to feel a little sterile, almost robotic. When the process becomes more important than people and God's presence, that genuine, heartfelt connection can just get lost. The church starts to feel more like a corporation than a community. And this verse is such a stark warning for this model. It describes a religion that looks right from the outside. It has the form, it has the structure, but it's missing the actual power that transforms people's lives. So the point is, structure without the spirit is really just an empty shell. Okay, next is a very modern phenomenon, the celebrity-driven church. This is a community built almost entirely around a single, super charismatic and influential leader. Their personality and their teaching are the main attraction.
And hey, it works! These churches can draw huge crowds and have a massive influence. The risk, though, is huge. When the focus is on a human personality, people can end up following a person instead of following God. Their faith gets tangled up with a fallible human being. And if that leader messes up or falls, a lot of people's faith goes down with them.
And the list goes on. You've got the social church, which is amazing at building community but might be a little shallow spiritually. There's the mission-focused church, doing incredible work out in the world, but maybe burning out its own people. The evangelistic church is all about sharing the faith, but can forget about the long-term growth of believers. The fleshy church tries so hard to be relevant that it can lose its unique message. And then there's the disciple-making church, which is great for deep growth, but can sometimes become a little too inward-looking. See the pattern?
Each one starts with something good but risks becoming imbalanced.
And that right there brings us to the core issue. The central problem plaguing all these models isn't that their focus is bad, it's that their focus is just too narrow. The real problem is imbalance. This slide really nails the definition. An unbalanced church takes one good thing, whether it's passion or structure or mission, and elevates it above everything else. It basically turns a single ingredient into the whole recipe, and the result is always unhealthy. And just look at the difference in the results here. An unbalanced church ends up creating spiritual consumers, people just looking for one specific thing. But a balanced church? It's more like a garden, carefully cultivating disciples who are growing in all areas of their life. One path leads to burnout or just stagnation, while the other leads to healthy, sustainable growth. The contrast is pretty stark.
So, if being unbalanced is the problem, then the solution has to be a conscious, intentional quest for balance. It's about taking the best parts of all these different models and weaving them together into a healthy, unified whole.
So what does that actually look like? Well, here's the DNA of a healthy church. It has spiritual passion. That's the fire that inspires everyone. But it also has an orderly structure. That's the wisdom that gives that fire direction. It has to have genuine community, the love that connects people on a deep level. And finally, it's driven by an outward mission, the purpose that sends them out into the world. It's not about picking one. It's about having all of them working together.
Because ultimately, this is how you measure success. The goal isn't just about getting more people in the door. It's not about attendees or consumers. A truly healthy, balanced church is committed to the deep, sometimes difficult, but transformative work of building disciples, mature followers who are growing in every part of their faith. And this brings us to our final and maybe most important takeaway from all of this. We really need to rethink how we measure the success of a spiritual community. It's not about being the biggest or the coolest or the most popular. So I want to leave you with this question to really think about. What is the true measure of your church's success? Is it the number of people in the seats, or is it the depth of the faith in their hearts? Is it about impressive programs, or is it about transformed lives? Because in the end, this source material leaves us with this really powerful thought. In 2026 and far beyond, God isn't looking for the biggest or the flashiest or the most perfectly managed church. He's looking for the most faithful one, a balanced, healthy community that's faithfully pursuing Him with all its heart, soul, mind, and strength.